Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our virtual classroom. Today, what I want to do is we are going to be going over lesson 5-2. And if we begin with the notes, again, these notes are found in OneNote. Feel free to pause the video at any point if you need to copy something down or rewind it if you're lost or if you need to go over something again. But anyways, 5-2, multiplying mixed numbers. Really quickly, a mixed number, ladies and gentlemen, is a number that is mixing a whole number and a proper fraction, just like we have here in example 3a. 3 1/8, we have a whole number and a proper fraction. That is a mixed number. I am mixing the two together. And ladies and gentlemen, when I am trying to multiply mixed numbers, like I'm doing here, we need to understand that we cannot multiply mixed numbers. We cannot multiply mixed numbers, not as they are at least. So what do? Very good question. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we must change the mixed numbers into improper fractions using the Texas TwoStep. And by now you should be proficient. You should be good, or rather you should know what the Texas TwoStep is. If you don't, very simple. I'm just going to write a T and an X between the whole number and the fraction, as I am doing here. And that reminds me that I need to first multiply. Remember, we always multiply before we add. We're going to multiply the denominator and the whole number. So 3 times 8, that is 24. And then I'm going to take that product, 24, and add the numerator. So 8 times 3 is 24, and 24 plus 1 is 25. So that's my numerator, and we keep the same denominator that we had up here. So it's going to be 25 eighths. So 3 1/8 is the same thing as 25 eighths. As an improper fraction. If we do the same thing over here, we have 3 1/5, we do Texas, TX, we multiply first, 3 times 5, that's 15. 15 plus 1 is going to give me 16, that is my numerator, and we keep the same denominator of 5, which is 5. Hence, ladies and gentlemen, multiplying 3 1/8 times 3 1/5 is the same thing as multiplying 25 eighths times 16 fifths. Now that I have a numerator and a denominator, we simply need to remember how to multiply fractions, which multiplying fractions is very simple. We just multiply across 25 times 16 and 8 times 5. That is going to give us 400 for 25 times 16 over 40. Now I just have to simplify them. You find a common factor. The greatest common factor is 40, leaving me with 10 over 1. 400 divided by 40 is 10, 40 divided by 40 is 1, and 10 over 1, remember that a whole number is always over 1, so 10 over 1 is the same thing as just 10. That is the answer to number 3A. Awesome. Now, that seems simple enough, except for the fact that, guys, multiplying 25 times 16 is a lot. That is a big number, a relatively big number, and that is where the second method that we learned comes into mind. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, that when you have a fraction like we do here, when we're multiplying fractions, we are essentially multiplying the numerators, 25 times 16, those are my numerators, and below the fraction we have our denominators, which are 8 times 5. Remember, and I encourage you to watch yesterday's video if you forgot about this. Remember that whenever I have the same factor in the numerator as I do in the denominator, the same number, I can always cross those out. For example, if I was multiplying something like 5 halves and 3 fifths, if I was multiplying these two, notice how in this example, I have a 5 in the numerator and a 5 in the denominator. I can cross those out. They cancel each other out. And so I'm left with just a 3 in the numerator and a 2 in the denominator. So yes, 5 halves times 3 fifths is the same thing, or when I multiply them, will give me 3 halves. If you don't believe me, well, 5 times 3 is 15. 2 times 5 is 10. When you simplify that, that simplifies to 3 halves. That's just an easier way to simplify before you multiply. Having said that, you will notice, ladies and gentlemen, that in this example over here, it doesn't seem like we have anything in common. There's no 25s in the denominator, there's no 16s, there's no 5s in the numerator, or is there? In fact, we can see that there is a 5 in the numerator because 25 is the same thing as 5 times 5. So really, I'm not getting rid of the 25. I'm just separating it into its factors, right? The 25 is still there in the form of 5 times 5. And the 16 can be expressed as 8 times 2. So again, the 16 is still there, but I just broke it down into its factors, 8 times 2. So, ladies and gentlemen, do I have anything in common? I do. There's a 5 in the numerator. There's a 5 in the denominator. I can cross those out. So those 5s are gone. Please keep in mind that we still have a 5 right here. Okay, there's an 8 in the numerator. There's an 8 in the denominator. I can cross those out. We still have a 2 here. Now let's just multiply whatever is left because there's nothing else to cross out. So 5 times 2 is 10. When we cross something out, it's really just a 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I get the same answer, 10 over 1, which is just the same thing as 10. Notice that in essence, once I crossed everything out, all I had left on this fraction was a 5, and all I had left on this fraction was a 2. All I had left over in my denominators was a 1, and that's how I got the 10. Awesome. Let's try another one. Let's do this one a little bit faster. Again, mixed numbers, we don't want to do mixed numbers, so let's go ahead and change those mixed numbers to improper fractions. So we do Texas two-step. 2 times 7 is 14 plus 2 is 16. So that's going to be 16/7. That's where I got this from. Over here. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 1 is 7. 7, 6. That's where I got this from. Okay, now I have my proper fractions. Let's ignore the answer for now. And let's just multiply this out. We see 16 times 7 and 7 times 6. Well, 16 times 7 is going to be 112. And 7 times 6 is going to be 42. Now, ladies and gentlemen, while that is true, I do have to simplify that. So what do? I can divide by 2. There's bigger numbers, but it's kind of confusing, right? To figure out what can I divide both of these numbers by, and that's going to take you some time. Let's see if we can do this a little bit differently. Remember that when I am multiplying, if I have the same factors in the numerator as I do in the denominator, I can just cross those out. Notice how on the top I have a 16 times 7, and the denominator I have a 7 times 6. Notice that really quickly we can tell that we have a 7 in the numerator and a 7 in the denominator. Ladies and gentlemen, I can cross that out immediately. In fact, by doing that, they both become ones. They match together, they're ones. It's already way simpler. Even if I don't cross out any other factors, notice what I have left over. 16 times 1 is 16. 1 times 6 is 6. Now, this is simpler than 112 over 42 is not. Can I go on? Yes, I can continue from there because I can divide both of these by 2. And that leaves me with 8/3. Ladies and gentlemen, notice that just by crossing out one of the common factors, it made my fraction way simpler than 112 divided by 42. Did it not? Just by crossing out that 7. In fact, 112 divided by 7 will give you 16. 42 divided by 7 gives you 6. And then I was able to finish. What I'm trying to tell you is that whenever you cross out common factors, if you leave factors that are still common, because 6 and 16 do have a common factor I can cross out, it doesn't matter. You can still simplify over here. Now, had I gone all the way, well, 16 and 6 have 2 in common because 16 is the same thing as 2 times 8, is it not? And 6 is the same thing as 2 times 3. So really, ladies and gentlemen, I have a 2 in the numerator and a 2 in the denominator. I can cross those out. Notice now what I have left over. 8, and that's it. 1 times 8 times 1 is just 8. Wait, isn't that what I ended up over here with? 8. And over here, this is a 1 because it's crossed out. This is a 1 because it's crossed out, so 1 times 1. And the only other thing I have is a 3. Wait, isn't that what I ended up over here with? Yes. So whenever I do cross out all the common factors, the only factors left are going to be those in the simplest form. Let me recap what just happened, ladies and gentlemen. Again, 16 sevens times 7, 6. I see the 7. I can cross out the 7 immediately. Immediately, I already have only a 16 and a 6 left over. I can divide each of those by 2, leaving me with my simplest form of 8/3. Now, if I had gone all the way, not only can I cross out the 7s, but this has a 2 in the form of 2 times 8. This has a 2 in the form of 2 times 3. I can cross out that 2, leaving me with only the 8 and the 3. Ladies and gentlemen, that is technically my answer. Now, this is an improper fraction. We don't want to leave it in improper terms. So we divide 8 by 3. 3 goes into 8 twice, remainder of 2. So my final answer is going to be 2 wholes, because that's how many whole times it fits. And we keep the same denominator of 3, and we have a remainder of 2. So 2 and 2/3 is what we would put on Schoology for number 3B. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. We are going to practice these a lot more. And with that in mind, I hope that you found this helpful, and I will see you next time.